So we've just discussed about all the different parts of the writing aspects of the treatment, but equally important is definitely the visual presentation. First is image research, and second is layout and design. So what I'm calling image research is really the process of grabbing a whole lot of visuals that can support your vision. This could be photographs, images from movies, drawings, sketches, paintings, anything that you feel like supports the story you're telling. But the process of gathering images isn't as simple as just Googling the main topics of your film. The images that you'll find there are usually low res and also often captured by amateurs that don't really have the same cinematic values or artistic values of the film that you're trying to create. So I'd say one of the most important tips for image collection is to use images that feel like they capture the spirit of your film and are of a visual quality that's as high as the film that you're going to create or even higher. So if you have an image that really tells the story but it's low res and it's just not a great looking photograph, I would say don't include that. I would say for that aspect of the story, rely on the text, and for other aspects of the story that you do have quality images for, you'll use those in your file layout. So one of the things I find really helpful for image research is just making a list of all the movies or artists or photographers or any of the elements that you feel like would be relevant to the story that you're trying to tell. So, in creating that list, you may come up with all sorts of keywords that you could potentially search directly. However, I would really encourage you to start by going to source material and not just Googling them, because you'll actually get higher quality imagery like that. So if you have a list of movies, you can maybe go to Netflix and do screen captures that way. You can actually rent the movie and use a third-party software to take screen captures, or there's a number of Blu-ray image websites that may already have some of the images you're looking for in screenshot form. One thing to think about if movies become a big reference point for you and for your treatments is that movies often reference photography. So I would definitely encourage you also to get familiar with photographers. And one way to do this is if you find an image that really speaks to you, figuring out who shot that image, and learning more about their body of work. If you do Google image searching, I would encourage you to use keywords that really connect to the content you need. Don't make it generic. When we step back from this and think about, okay, we have this story we want to tell. How do we want to communicate it visually to the audience as well? So image research really starts with that question of asking yourself, visually, what are the reference points that I can use to convey this story in this treatment format? And I think image research takes time, it takes patience, it takes diligence, and it takes this sort of seeking and finding and exploring energy, to discover things that you may not have actually known about initially. For myself, when I'm tackling a treatment, I usually start with the writing, but then once I get a little, tired from the writing or like writer's block or whatever it is, can't solve something, I'll usually go to image research. And I do find that it's a nice balance with the treatment writing because it uses a different side of my brain. So I'll just go into that, explorer mode, hunting down different photographs that I feel will represent my project. And then when I get a bit tired of the image research, or when I find an image that can be really useful to the treatment, then sometimes that will inspire more writing. So that's the sort of symbiotic relationship between visual research and the treatment writing. Again, one of the biggest tips I can give you is don't use images that are poor quality. They'll make your treatment feel unprofessional. And the other thing is, you don't have to have an image for every aspect of your story. Some of your story can rely on text alone. And for those pages, you may need to use something that's a little bit more generic, something that represents the tone of your film, but may not actually capture the story or say exactly what you want to tell.